and I'm good. So at least one of those rules is already taken care of for you. Today, I'm letting y'all in on my favorite recipe. My favorite. I don't really share this with people, but I'm sharing it with you. Sharing it with you. We are making Southwest pasta. You're like, oh, but I heard that they got that at Applebee's. No, they don't. They don't have this at Applebee's. Okay? This is not your going to the restaurant. This is better than an elevation. So don't let that name fool you. We are coming correct. Let's head over to the cutting board and see what we're getting into. You might not know me well enough by now to know how much I love garlic, but you can guarantee garlic is in this recipe. I'm using 2 cloves here, giving that a nice mince. Just keep chopping, it'll get there. My recipe calls for a shallot, but feel free to substitute a red onion in there and just give that a small dice. I'm going to be using both sides, so 2 cloves of that. I'm going to be using these peppers, yellow, green, and red, and just cutting those up into some nice thin julienne strips. I recognize that not everybody likes peppers, but they're kind of essential to this recipe. 80% of the recipes my family makes involve cilantro. If you want to tone down the flavor, my advice, saute it with your shallots. Okay, Parmesan, I see you. Okay, with the fresh, great. All right. It's done with prep, time to cook. We're going to put together a spice rub, because if you make too much, you can save it for next time. McCormick who? Mrs. Dash who? Now that's if you take your salt out, but all the same, you can mix this thing up yourself. Goya who? We're not going to get into that. But putting all our seasonings together so that one, we could taste what it's going to taste like and add before we have to find out later. And two, you got excess for the future. Give it a shake. Yeah. Ooh. Go ahead and sprinkle it on your chicken. Nice coating. You don't got to be stingy. Be very generous with that sprinkle. Flip it. Get the other side. Ooh, they ready to go in the oven. You might not have this in your kitchen, but this slicer makes cutting a breeze. Grab a sharp knife and meet me at the cutting board, slicing up our chicken into nice thin strips. Yeah, I took a taste. It was for me, chef's taste. And you'll notice I'm just taking my slicer down the chicken and making nice thin strips. You could cut your chicken any way you want to, but this is how I was feeling. I was feeling fancy. Now, I know you see how the chicken looking tender. It is, okay? Moving on, we're going to cook our linguine, following directions on the package. While our noodles are going, simultaneous, I know, a little magic, we're going to prepare our sauce. Got the butter down, 2 tablespoons. Throw in my garlic, about 3/4 of my shallots, and give them a nice saute. And again, if you're not a huge fan of the cilantro flavor, add them in at this point. I'm going to put in my 4 tablespoons of flour to kind of make a vegetable roux to thicken up my sauce. Adding in my heavy cream, slowly letting it absorb. And also, since my roux is hot, my heavy cream is cold. My teacher always said you should have 2 different temperatures. One should be hot and one should be cold. So I'm going to just let that absorb slowly into my roux. If it was good enough for the chicken, it's good enough to go up in this sauce. This is gonna be my starting point, adding some salt, some Spanish paprika. You could use any paprika you got. That's just what HEB had. Using some Emerald's Cajun to, add a little something, something to it. Giving it a stir. My sauce is now gonna go from a nice off-white to a orange, light orange, with all those spices. And you're probably like, that was a lot of spices. It sure is. We're making a lot of food. It's gonna be okay. Adding in my Parmesan. You could tell I got lazy. You can see one side was grated with the small holes and the other got the big holes for time. When you're adding cheese to your sauce, be careful of the heat because cheese sauces like to break if they get overheated. I'm adding the juice of 2 whole limes. Give them a roll, have a margarita on the side, have some fun. It's looking so good. Ooh, you see the cheese? Yeah, it's nice and melty. It's time to turn the heat off. I'm seasoning some more, but just like a half a tablespoon of cayenne. A little spice to make it nice. If you don't like spicy, don't worry. That amount won't make this much sauce spicy. This is a very optional step. I like fresh flavors towards the end. So I put my cilantro, fresh shallots, and my green peppers in at the end. That's not a popular strategy, but I like it. It's how I get down. If you want to omit that step, you just put your veggies in the beginning and saute it all down. But me, I hate a mushy pepper. That's nasty. I don't understand that. The peppers add a beautiful flavor to this. Even if you don't eat the peppers, put them in there. Set aside a little bit of chicken to put on top, for display and plating. Just set a few pieces aside, like 1/3, and you'll be good to go, ready for plating. I should have definitely used a bigger pot for the amount of pasta I was making, so bear with me. There's a little bit of pasta water in there with the noodles to help the sauce stick a little better and everything to come together. Since it's such a big amount, I'm going to add the sauce in parts and just kind of fold it in. Let everything marry together. Yes. I'm going to get all the sauce in there. I just got to go slow. We're going to add our chicken on top. Again, we're going to put on a show. If you're pulling up to the potluck, imagine the happy faces when they see you coming with this. I mean, come on. Okay, with this mozzarella, you could have put it in the sauce or you can put it on top. I'm going to put it on top. I'm going to melt it by putting the lid on it. Simple. The heat from the sauce is going to melt that mozzarella just fine. And I'm going to plate myself up some. So good. I want to make some more. Oh, it's beautiful. That brings a tear to my eye. Oh my gosh. Can you see the flavor? It looks so delicious. I put some extra cilantro on top because, again, that's how I get down. You want a bite? No. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh, yes, Lord. I'm sorry. Ooh. I tried to tell you, I am coming correct with this Southwest pasta, and you tried to play me talking about some chain restaurant. I have been making this recipe for over 10 years, and it has yet to disappoint me. And don't you dare try to clock me on that number. Okay? You don't know how old I am. Mind your business. This recipe is sure to please at that next family function, potluck, virtual, happy hour, what's for dinner, whatever you're doing. This, that one. So make sure you check this recipe out, and if you do, hit me in the comments.